So today we're going over 4.2, writing equations in standard and point slope form, part 1. So when you take your algebra EOC, you're going to have a formula sheet. And on that formula sheet, you're going to have different forms of writing in slope-intercept formula. You have to be able to identify each one. You should be able to move from one form to the next with no problems. And then the point slope formula can form our slope formula. So all we need to have to use it is a slope and any point. So the first step we're going to do in writing equations from standard and point slope form, but in point slope form we're going to find our slope. We went over this previously. If you don't have a slope given, you are to find your slope using the slope formula. So if your slope is not given, you use the formula m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now you only use this formula if your slope isn't given. If your slope is given, you just use whatever slope you have. Second, you pick a point and plug the slope and point into the equation. Now when I say pick a point, if you're given 2 points and you have to find your slope, I always choose my first set of points. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but I choose first set of points. And what do I mean by first set of points? That means if I have 1, 2, and then the point 3 and 4, the points I use for my point slope formula is going to be 1, 2. Okay, so that means I'm going to use my 1 and 2 first. Alright, that's it, you're done, and you solve for y and you will get the slope intercept form. So when we're talking about point slope formula, I got a little glare. This is your point slope formula right here. This is your y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. It's written in a point slope form where x1 and y1 is a given point on a non-vertical line and m is your slope of the line. And then this is how you will see it on your test. So let's look at our first example. First example says, what's the equation of the line that passes through the point 2 and 7 with the slope of -3 and 2. So in this case, do we have to find our slope? Is our slope given? Our slope is given. It told us that our slope is -3/2. So that is something we don't have to find. Then we're given our points where we don't have to figure out if the point, we have to choose between 2 points. Our point is 2 and 7. So in this case, we write out our point slope formula, y minus y1 equal m x minus x1. Remember, in this case, we're only going to substitute our y1, our slope, and our x1. Those are the only points that's going to change within our only terms that are going to change within this equation. So we rewrite our equation by substituting our y's and y1, x1, and our m. So then we rewrite it, y minus our y1 in this equation is going to be 7, because in our y place it's a 7, minus 7 equal, remember our slope is -3/2, times x minus x1. In this case, our x1 is 2. Alright, so now we have it in point slope form. Now we want to get it in y-intercept form. So when we write it like this, if the equation asks you to write the equation in point slope form and they gave you your slope and a point, you just leave it like this, point slope form. Okay, so this is point slope form. Now we want to get it in y-intercept form. So in order to take this from point slope form to y-intercept form, we need to simplify. That's a term you guys learned way beforehand. It's to simplify. That means we need to get this equation from looking like this to look like this right here. Y equals mx plus b. Now, in every instance, your y-intercept, which is your b, is not always positive. Sometimes it's negative. So if you get a minus, it's okay. We just wanted to go from looking like from slope formula, from point slope formula to slope formula. So here we go. In order to do that, we need to get this y by itself. So in order to get y by itself, we're going back to basic algebra. We need to first move everything that's isolate the y by itself by moving everything that's on the side with the y attached to the y to the other side of the equation. Now before I can do that, I need to first condense this side, because if I go moving this y right here and I still have these parentheses, it's not gonna, well, not y, this -7 right here, and I still have parentheses, it's gonna cause some problems. So I need to first use distributive property to combine my x, my -3/2 with my x and my 2. So that becomes y minus 7 equal, and then remember distributive property, -3/2 x, and a negative times a negative gives me a positive, plus, in this case, it'll give me +6/2, which would be +3. Now we are almost there, and the only thing I need to do now is move my -7. So that becomes +7 +7, because we do the opposite, y equal -3/2 x plus 10. So now, I'm gonna move this up. In y-intercept form, this is our new equation. Now let's look at example 2. I'm already up here. Example 2. Now in this case, remember I said it's a time where you won't be given your slope and you have to find your slope, and you're given 2 points. In this equation, what is the equation line that contains the points 2 and -7 and 6 and -3? Now this is where we use our our slope. We find slope first, which is rise over run, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We use this formula first in order to find our slope, and then we fill in the blank, which will become -3 minus -7 divided by 6 minus 2, because remember, rise over run. Now -3 minus 7, remember double negative make a positive, so that becomes -3 plus 7, sorry, -3 plus 7, which will give us +4, and then 6 minus 2 will give us +4 as well. So our slope is 1. That's our slope. So now we can do our point slope formula. Remember, point slope formula is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we fill in the blank. Our y minus y1, which is -7, equal, our slope is 1 times x minus x1, which is 2. This is point slope form, and then we want to put it in slope form. So that becomes y plus 7 equal, we're condensing it, x minus 2. And remember, we move our 7. Y equals x minus 9. And that is our new equation. So this is in slope form, and this is in point slope form. Remember, point slope, slope. So now we're going to work on word problems. That one thing a lot of you guys hate doing is word problems. So in a word problem, we have Nadia Book Club is ordering new novels. She knows that the total cost of 5 books is $61.25 and 15 books cost $159.75. Write an equation in point slope form to represent the total cost of ordering X books. When we're doing word problems, we always point out the needed. What is needed? What are our keywords? So Nadia has a book. Nadia's Book Club is ordering new novels. She knows that the total cost of 5 books is $61.25. So we need to know that the cost of the book, 5 books, is $61.25. All right. And 15 books is $159.75. Now we need to write our equation in point slope form. So we know we need to have it in point slope form to represent the cost of Y ordering in X books. So they gave us our Y and our X's already. Our Y is how many books were is the total cost of the books, and the X are the amount of books. So now in this equation, for this equation, are we given our slope? No, we're not given our slope. We're given 2 points, even if we know it or not. Our 2 points we're given because we already know X represents the books and Y represents total cost is our X and Y. So our first X and Y is 5 and 61.25. And our second is 15 and 159.75. So we got our X and Y. Now so that becomes not 159.75 minus 61.25 divided by 15 minus 5. And always remember, you always have your calculator. So in our calculator, if we was to put these numbers, we got 159 minus 75, 159.75 minus 61.25. We are to get 98.5, and then 15 minus 5 is 10. I'm sorry, I done wrote 5. So, and then we divide that. 98.5 over 10. So now we have our slope, which is 98.5 over 10, and it says to write in a point slope formula. So now we just fill in our blanks. So we got Y minus Y1, which is 61.25, equal M, which is 98.5 over 10, times X minus X1, which is 5. That's all, because it told us to leave it in point slope formula. We don't have to do nothing else. This is our answer. Now it asks you to convert it into slope intercept form. That's when we simplify. So now that becomes Y minus 61.25 and we simplify. Let's start simplifying. (98.5/10) x minus, in this case 98.5/10, x 10 times 5 will give us 49.25, and then we move everything attached to y. So plus 61.25 plus 61.25. So y equal 98.5 divided by 10x, which will give us plus 12. So this will be our y, our slope-intercept form, and then this one up here will be our point slope form. Another thing you guys got to learn how to do based off of your EOC, hold on, let it focus, is know how to convert an equation to standard form. So what do I mean by standard form? I wanted to focus one moment. Let me fix that. What do I mean by standard form? So you have different forms in an equation. So right now you got 2y equals x minus 16. Standard form means it's going to look like this. ax plus by equals c. Meaning the term with your x is your a, your coefficient in front of your x is your a, your coefficient in front of your y is your b, and your c is your constant. That's the number without a variable. So we're trying to get our two coefficients together and our constant, our number without the variable, by itself. So in this instance, if we look at the equation that's given, we got 2y equals x minus 16. We know this 2y is our b, the 2 is our b, and our a right here is x. So we need to get what together? The x and the y. So in order to get that together, I move my x. So if that's a positive x, I do the opposite. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. So in order to get my x by itself, well, not my x, get my constant by itself, I subtract x from both sides. So now that leaves me with negative x plus 2y equal negative 16. So this is standard form. That's all they mean when they say convert to standard form. And that's very important you know how to do that. Now we have to convert this one into standard form. So in order to get this equation in standard form, the form that it's in already, remember, is already in point slope form. And we need to go from point slope to standard form. So in order to do that, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to simplify. So I got y plus 5 equals negative 6 x plus 7. I need to simplify this. So I need to do distributive property to combine these terms so then I can get it the way I want it. So I got y plus 5 equals negative 6x minus 42. So now I got that. And remember, in standard form, do I have two constants or one constant? Because remember, your c is your constant, your number without a variable. I have one. So in this case, I got two constants. So in order to have one constant, I need to first move one of my constants. So I'm going to choose to move this one because this is what we normally do. So we got y equals negative 6x minus 47. Now I can put it in standard form. In order to get a standard form, I'm going to move my 6x. So that becomes 6x plus y equals negative 47. That is in standard form. So we went from point slope form to standard form. That concludes the lesson for today. Today you really went from learning how to put equations in slope form to point slope form, and going back from point slope to standard, or from slope form to standard.